Having a power bank is just about essential these days. It keeps our devices charged up throughout the day, and it's great in emergencies. Today we're going to take a look at this Blavor solar power bank. Hey everybody, it's Chris from FamilyGeekery, and today we're going to be checking out all the cool features of this Blavor solar power bank. Now I want to start off by thanking Blavor for sending this to me. They reached out and said, can we send you a review unit? And as it turns out, I've had one of their other devices similar to this one for many years, and I love it, and I use it all the time. And when they first showed me what they were going to send me, I stopped them and I said, hey, I think I've already got one. I can do a review. It turns out this is a newer model, and it's a little bit different, and we'll talk about the differences, but we're going to be checking out this one. So thank you to Blavor for sending me this to review. So to start off with, I think everybody knows what a power bank is. You know, we keep all of our devices around all day long, and they eventually run out of charge, or they get low in charge, so we have something like this to top them off or to give them a little bit of charge in an emergency. This one is a little bit different. It's got a lot of different features to it. I think you can see right up top that it's got a solar panel. We'll talk about what this is and what the specs are on that and what to expect from it. You can see from up front here it's got some flashlights, so we'll look at those also. And if we flip this over, it's actually a full Qi wireless charger as well. So those are the main features of this particular power bank, but let's talk a little bit more in depth about all those features individually. So if you've watched many of my videos, then you know I'm kind of a nerd for battery type stuff, or power type stuff in solar. And if you need some proof, then right up here I'll put a video link to a video that I do explaining what volts and amps and watts are, and that way if you need to watch that to kind of refresh your memory of what all that means, because we're going to be talking about some of those when we talk about a power bank, of course. So let's talk about the main feature of this power bank, and that's the fact that it is in fact a power bank. So with all the other features that we're yet to talk about, it's still a power bank in its true nature. So that means it's got some batteries inside, and it allows us to charge our devices with it. So to give you an example of how big this is, right here is an iPhone 8 Plus. So you can see that it's not that big. Now I was a little surprised when I got this out of the box, because the other one I have is quite a bit chunkier. Now this is a 10,000 milliamp hour capacity, so that's how much capacity it has to recharge devices. So if you know what your phone's capacity is for the battery, let's say this one is 3,500 watt hour battery built into this, then you can get about 2.5 to 3 charges from here into this device. So most phones you get at least 2 charges out of it. Some iPads you'll get probably 1 charge out of it. But this is pretty darn small for 10,000 milliamp hours. I'll give you an example here of this other one we looked at. This one is practically the same size. Now it's a little bit skinnier because it doesn't have the solar panels, and it doesn't have the nice protective coating on it that we'll talk about. But this one is only 5,000 milliamp hours. So they've really done a good job with these new style batteries to get them smaller and lighter. It's about 9.6 ounces, so less than a pound, about a little over a half a pound. So you can keep this thing with you in a backpack or in a bag, and it's not going to weigh you down. So now we know that it's 10,000 milliamp hours. Let's see how it's going to charge our devices. Now up top here underneath this little protective flap is going to be where all of our ports are. And we've got a couple different ports to choose from. We've got a micro USB on the left here. That's going to be an input only. So if you happen to have an older style cable, you can use that to charge. It's got a USB-A. That's going to be an output only. And that's going to be 5 volts at 2.1 amps. So basically a 10 watt charger. And then we've got a USB-C, which is bidirectional. So you can either charge into it or you can charge out of it. So depending on what you need to do, you can use that USB-C connector there, which is also 5 volts. And I believe 2.4 out, it may be a 3 amp in. So it did come with a small, in the box here, it came with a small charging cable, which is USB-A to USB-C. So if you were close enough to a wall wart, you could plug this in and keep it charged. But pretty much everybody has a USB-C cable for some of their devices. So if you have a longer one, then definitely that can also charge here. Now, in addition to these ports that we can use cables with, we also have, of course, the Qi charger on the back here. So all you have to do is you hit the power button once, and you'll get a green light on here telling you that it's active. And then as long as you put a Qi enabled device, like this iPhone 8, then it starts charging right away. Now if you accidentally bump that button and that green light goes on, after about 20 seconds it'll turn itself off, so it's not going to just burn the battery up trying to charge something that's not there. That's a good feature. So yeah, so you don't even need to carry cables with you if you don't want to, and you can charge if you have a Qi capable phone or tablet. Now as far as the specs go for the wireless charging, it's 5 volts at 1 amp, so basically 5 watts. So it's not the strongest wireless charger in the world, but it's a great feature that they add on without adding a whole lot of extra bulk to it. So that's just a bonus. Alright, so next I want to talk about the dual flashlights. So this is just another nice feature to build on. A lot of different power banks have them now. This is the first one I've seen that has 2 of them. And again, to turn this on, all you do is you find the power button and you hold it for 3 seconds, and then the lights turn on. Now I'm going to give you a little demonstration of how bright these lights are, because you can't stand like I did and put them in your eyeballs and blind yourself with them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn off the lights, and I'm going to compare this to a cell phone. So everybody has a cell phone, and the cell phone's got a built-in flashlight to it. So why do you need this? Well, let me show you the difference between the two. So this is the power bank, and this is the cell phone from about the same distance. So let me bring this camera up a little bit to the back wall so we can see that. So here's the cell phone again, and that's the power bank. So it's definitely a lot brighter. I don't know how well you can see it through the video, but it's definitely a lot brighter. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about is the overall rugged construction of it. So we can see that this thing is definitely targeted as an outdoor activity type device. So it's nice to have some kind of protection to it, without adding a whole lot of size to it. So we saw this other power bank that I've had for several years, and like I said, it's about the same size, and this one has like no protection on it at all. This thing is always sliding off of my desk, sliding off of my lap, wherever I'm trying to use it, it's always sliding somewhere. This one's not going to go anywhere because it's got kind of a rubber coating all around it, and it's got these bumpers here, so it's got drop protection. It says that the documentation that came with it says it's IPX4. The website says it's IPX5, so I'm not sure exactly which one it is, but it's either at least splash proof or maybe even waterproof and dust proofs. Either way, I'm not going to be submerging this thing in the lake, but if it gets rained on a little bit, I'm not going to be too worried about it. So overall, it's got a nice rugged construction, and even having protective flaps over the ports so you don't get anything in them. Overall, it's just a great design without adding too much size. Now we can see it's got this little eyelet included here, and that's because also in the box they include a little carabiner. So a little ring, you just put the ring on here. You got a carabiner so you can clip this onto the back of your backpack. So maybe if you're hiking or biking, clip this on, and you can actually have this thing sit on your back, charging while you're hiking or biking. So that's a pretty good feature. The little carabiner here also has a compass in it, and ideally it would help you if you got lost, but this one is, it may just be defective, but it's not perfectly working. Even when I jostle it and get it loose, it's just not tracking correctly. So maybe I got a bad one, but I think you've all seen this style of compass on it. It's possibly just a gimmicky feature. Alright, so now let's talk about the actual solar part of this particular thing, which is what makes it unique. And the company is very open about explaining what the specs are of the solar panel here and what to expect from it, and it's basically telling you to manage your expectations. So they've basically said that it's intended mostly for emergency use only. So if you happen to have a dead phone and your battery bank is dead also, and maybe you're lost out in the woods or something, then it would be a last chance to get enough charge into your phone to make a call. So let's talk about the specs. The solar panel array here is 5 volts, rated at a maximum of 230 milliamps or 0.23 amps. And again, if you don't remember what those mean, then you can watch that other video to get a little refresher. But basically, if you think about when you plug this into the wall using your regular phone charger or something, that's probably a 5 volt 2 amp charger. So 0.23 amps, or basically about a quarter of an amp, would be about 1/8 of that. So that being said, this is about a 1 watt solar panel. And that's really the easiest way to rate a solar panel, is by how many watts it can do. Now that 1 watt, or that 230 milliamps, is based upon this solar array being exposed to 25,000 lux. And lux is a unit of light. So to give you an idea of what that means, according to Wikipedia, if you were to go outside on a bright sunny day in the summer at noon, you can expect to be experiencing about 120,000 lux. So 25,000, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be on the brightest, sunniest day right at noon. So there is some leadway to it. On a cloudy day, they say it's about 1,500 lux. So obviously in a cloudy day, you're not going to get optimal charging. But as long as you're in direct sunlight, then it should be good enough to keep this thing charging. Now, all that being said, based upon, if you do all the math out, this is basically a 37 watt hour battery bank. If you wanted to charge this thing completely with a 1 watt input, then you'd be looking at about 2 days out in the direct sunlight, about 37 to 40 something hours of direct sunlight to charge this thing fully up. So that's obviously not the intended use of this. If you're going to be using this day to day, charge it with your phone charger. If you're going to be out hiking, then absolutely hang it on your backpack and let it stay topped up throughout the day by being charged. And if you're in an absolute emergency and nothing else works, then getting that 1/4 amp into this thing may just be a lifesaver. Now, like I said, I've had one of these for several years. In fact, what I do is I keep the other one I have, which is, like I said, considerably larger because it's a 20,000 milliamp hour battery bank, but it is big and heavy. What I do is I keep that in the glove compartment of my car, and that way, if, worst case scenario, if I ever broke down and my phone was dead and my car is dead, then I'd be able to, top off my phone with it. Now, if you like the idea about solar charging to keep your battery bank charged up, but you're not sure if this little 1 watt is going to be enough for you, and you do want to actually make it practical for hiking and camping stuff, then they do make portable solar panels that have a USB output, and a lot of the modern ones have a USB-C output. So you could certainly take one of those and plug it into the input here and use that solar panel to charge this. Now they make little ones that fold up into your backpack and stuff. I've seen 6 watt ones, I've seen 10 watt ones, I've seen even Blavor makes a 30 watt one. Now 30 watts would be a little bit more than what this could handle for the input side. Remember, we got about, let's say, 10 watts input would be the optimal input for this. So if you can find yourself a little fold up 10 watt solar panel, then you could deploy that out. Maybe you stop on your hike to do some, eat some lunch or something like that, pop out that 10 watt panel, get it into direct sunlight, and use the USB cable right into this, and it's just like charging it right off the wall. So overall, if you take any of these features that we talked about, the wireless charging, the flashlight, the solar power, the battery bank itself, then by themselves, it's nothing special, right? We've all seen devices that do that. But being able to have all of that in this small of a package, and it's still a 10,000 milliamp hour battery bank, that to me is pretty darn impressive. And a couple last features that I've forgot to mention before we wrap this video up. We've got up here the charging indicators, and the green indicator here is showing that it is seeing at least some kind of light. Now, obviously, these are just the studio lights, and they're LEDs, not the optimal type of light to charge a battery bank. but it is seeing that. If we were to cover up this guy completely, then that light does go out, and you probably can't see that, but it did go out. So at least you do know when it's receiving some light. Over here, of course, is the battery indicator. You can tap the power button to see, and it basically shows you full and then 25% increments, 25, 50, 75%. And then if you are charging this with a cable, then this is the indicator that will show what it's charging. So you can see when it's charging by solar, you can see when it's charging from your cable. Now, I did do a test where I plugged in an input and an output at the same time, and it did work. It did reduce the output a little bit, but at least you can keep the power bank charged up and charge a device with it if you wanted to. So that's also pretty nice. Sometimes the battery banks will not let you do both at the same time. And I did also test out the charging capacity of, the input of charging this device. And what I've got here is a little handy guy that I use to keep all my stuff charged. So if I just plug in the included cable, just a USB-C right into, this is just a 5-watt USB outlet, and then plug the USB-C into the bidirectional charging port, we can see that it's charging here, and since it is pretty full, it may not be pulling a full load, but on this it shows you what all the ports are drawing from. So this device is asking the charger for some amount of power, and this says 5.2 volts, and it's pulling 2.7 amps. So normally on your regular 5 volt 10 watt devices, this would be saying like 2.0. So it is charging almost 3 amps, and since it's 5.2 volts instead of 5, then that's going to go ahead and work out to be close to about 12 or 13 watts of charging input. So using a USB-C cable, even the short little one that they included with it, is going to charge this thing faster than just using a regular USB micro charger. So I think that's going to wrap up this review. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this device. See if you want one. They have supplied me a 40% off coupon code that I'll put down in the description because it's not something easy to remember like Family Geekery, but it is a coupon code that at Amazon you can get 40% off, and I think they even have another 10% off that stacks on top of that. So if you're interested in one of these, find that link below, use that coupon code, save some money, and get yourself a great device. So I want to thank again Blavor for reaching out to me and sending this unit to me. It was a very easy sell. I don't accept every item that companies want to send me, but as soon as I saw this name, I was like, send me anything you got, because I've got your devices and I love them. So I'm happy to test them. So hopefully they send me some more. So that's going to wrap up this video. If you got something out of it, if you like this, then go ahead and like the video. If you want to see more stuff like this and more product reviews and more geeky stuff, then hit that subscribe button also. But I thank you as always for watching, and until next time, peace out and geek out.